the bump and run, the Bristol move.
That's aggressive, but that's good. Good hard racing. Oh! He puts him out of the groove there. Oh, man!
Will he get the bumper? Yes, he does. Here comes Logano. Logano on the inside. A drag race. They're sideways. And it's going to be Logano getting the win.
The back end of the 18. Kick out.
Yeah, he got into it right there.
Moved him out of the way.
Just got the lead.
It's almost too early to be racing that hard for the lead, wasn't it?
Never too early to be racing for the lead.
At Bristol.
At Bristol.
Man, this is one of the biggest wins of my career.
It's the bump and run,
Baby!
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a William Byron type of weekend. Old
Willie Two Clocks.
Old Slick Willie Two Clocks, the big winner down in Vegas in dominating fashion. We will talk all about it, but make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Show available every Monday night, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. Available on YouTube every Tuesday morning. Make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter for all the updates. Bump and Run Pod. That's Bump, the letter N, Run Pod. And don't forget, we got NASCAR news. We got the breakdown of the race coming up and our gambling preview at the end. And if you watched our gambling video this weekend on YouTube, another reason why you have to hit that bell so you get notified every time we post a gambling video. I told you guys to pick Slick Willie Two Clocks. I told you to double down, bet on him on a top 5 finish, top 3 finish, and for the win. Guess who did it? I did. I put my money where my mouth was, and I made some money on Slick Willie Two Clocks, up to 200 fucking units. And fellas, my weekend was great because I was winning money. How about you? How was your weekend, boys?
Mine was good. I told you guys already, but I am a free agent. I am on the open market with my vehicle manufacturer. I'm like Kyle Busch last year.
You're jumping from Toyota. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm going to go with where my heart is. My family has historically been a longtime Chevy family.
Yeah.
Like going back to like great uncles and all of that. So I've never owned a Chevy myself. I've had Toyotas. I've had 3 Toyotas in a row, and I am just ready for a change. So I'm thinking of either Chevy or GMC. I've been looking at those just online. I'm going to go try to test drive a couple this upcoming weekend. So I'm switching manufacturers, boys.
Yeah, you want to know what? I feel like you're more a Silverado man than a Tacoma man anyways. Although I did used to love that Ford Ranger. I'm a big Ranger guy in general. I loved Eric's old Ranger too. I always wanted a Ford Ranger.
Yeah,
I wanted the Ford Ranger.
Oh.
I've had 2 Fords and 3 Toyotas in my life, so I'm diving into I'm hopefully diving into the Chevy and GMC family next.
Yeah, I've been traditionally a Ford guy. I started out with a Mercury Sable when I was a teenager, moved on to the Ford Focuses, and now I'm in an Escape. And I gotta tell you, fellas, I hate driving an SUV. I think I hate it the worst. I need a small car, and Ford doesn't make any cars anymore. So I'm leaving Ford too. I might switch to Toyota. I don't know though. I don't know.
Don't go to the place that I've been going to. Go to somewhere else that around here that sells Toyotas, because the place that I've gone to is terrible with their customer service.
Nah, I haven't figured out what I want to get yet. That's years down the line. I still got 3 more years of car payments. But how about you, Eric? How's your Ford running? How's your weekend this weekend?
I'm a Ford guy through and through, always will be, and ain't no changing that on my end. So no, my weekend was it was kind of on the calmer side this time. My girlfriend and she made homemade pasta and homemade bolognese sauce all day Saturday. We did a little. We went to a couple of estate sales looking for some goodies for the house. So did some little antiquing.
Pick up any treasures on the way?
Got a couple two, three little knickknacks for the house. Found a nice Bud Light sign. It said Bud Light darts for the old garage for shooting darts. So got a nice sign for the garage. So that was nice. But overall, it was more on the more the relaxing side this weekend. For
You
me.
sent that picture over of that Bud Light Dart Light,
Yeah.
dude. That was a steal.
Yeah.
Dude, and the prices were pretty good this week. You know, sometimes you go to those places where they're like, I'm like, come on, like get it together here. But no, it was a good day of antiquing on Saturday for me, and then filled our bellies with some wine and some homemade pasta, and stayed in this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did that a couple weekends ago. So we had a pasta night. This is probably 3 or 4 weekends ago. Had a pasta night on Saturday night. I told Steph, so let's pour some wine. Like let's have a nice little Italian night. We just wrapped up The Sopranos, so we blew through that whole series, watched the whole thing. So
Feeling
like
extra Italian.
I was feeling like let's have a pasta and wine night, and like I turned one glass of wine into like 7. So that's how my Saturday night ended up.
That's the dangerous thing about wine. I'm a beer guy. I know my limits with beer. I do not know my limits with wine because it goes down so easy, so smooth. It's like drinking juice, and then all of a sudden the bottle's gone, and you're like, "Oh man, I might overdid it."
That's my problem. I'm not a wine drinker either. You guys know me. I'm a beer drinker and mixed drinks. So when I get to going on wine, which is like honestly like maybe twice a year, if that, like I forget that like, oh, this shit gets you drunk.
Oh yeah.
And it's delicious. And then it's also awful the next day too. So yeah.
No, I love my wine. And when we were antiquing, we had the whole day kind of planned in our head, and it wasn't The Sopranos, but we've been watching Game of Thrones. So for you not looking, we picked up 2 little chalices while we were out.
Look at that thing.
Got drunk out of these while we're eating our pasta. So, it all came full circle on Saturday.
I thought it was funny too. On Sunday, we got a Snapchat in our group chat of you holding a chalice full of wine at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning with a fire going.
Around the fire.
And
you know what, man? That's just a man enjoying his weekend.
I play that snap in front of Bree too, and she goes, "What's he doing?" I go, "I don't know, man. He's burning stuff." And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Why?" I go, "That's hard and living. I don't know, man."
Why not?
They don't pick up trash up there like normal. You gotta burn your cardboard recycling.
Man. I got a lot of cardboard I gotta get rid of.
Well, we got a lot of NASCAR news to get into, so let's jump right into it. Get the show moving along here. Speaking of weekends, race weekends are going to get a little different at track for the Bristol Dirt Experience. Eric, you're heading down to Bristol again this Easter for the dirt race. Kenny Wallace and John Roberts. You might know John Roberts is the host of a Sirius XM show with Chocolate Myers in the afternoon on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. They're going to be hosting a Race Day Revival show at Bristol Dirt, kind of like the old Speed Channel pre-show used to be. And I feel like we got a little taste of this at Dover last year. I feel like they were doing a pre-race show out in the parking lot for the fans. This is kind of what it's going to be all about. What do you guys think about just the at-track activation going on?
Listen, it's Easter weekend. Jesus has risen, and Kenny Wallace has too, I guess.
Yeah, he's making the return. A lot of people have been asking old Kenny Wallace on social media when he's coming back to television, and it looks like it's getting close.
I love that man so much. I think he is just the best. Like not like put all the politics stuff aside, because I don't give a shit about that stuff. Like just him as a human being. It's just he's a national treasure that needs to be preserved at any measure whatsoever.
He really is
a wild man.
He's just a goofball. And Eric, since you're going down to Bristol Dirt on Easter weekend, I feel like after our conversation about wine, you could only drink wine at that race. I feel like that's.
Oh, dude, I'll drink wine anytime, any day of the week. You put a jug of wine in front of me, I'm putting it down, dude. I used to drink wine out of old Polar seltzer can.
Eric, I was just gonna say, dude, be that guy down in Bristol on Easter weekend who was walking around with a jug of wine.
Yeah,
I just smile. My teeth are just purple. Like you don't even have to hear me speak. As soon as I smile, everyone be like, "Oh, that guy, he's on one. That guy's on one."
All right. Speaking of short track racing like Bristol, NASCAR announced a new rules package for short tracks and short tracks and ovals. I've typed this out all stupid. Short tracks and road courses to decrease the downforce, including a smaller spoiler and removing some parts of the diffuser on the bottom to create about a 30% reduction in downforce. I told you guys before the beginning of the show, I was thinking about heading down to Richmond, Virginia to see the Richmond race this spring, just to see this package in action. I've wanted to go down to Richmond for years now. I know we always say how bad the racing is, but are you guys excited to maybe see some different action on the short tracks due to a new package? Do you think this will help the racing? Because it seems the short tracks and the road courses is where we're really lacking right now.
How could you not be excited for at least the hope that it turns the short track and road course experience around? Because last year it sucked. That's no secret. It just wasn't what anyone expected it was going to be. So I don't know how I don't know how it's going to be. Maybe they make it worse. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm hoping that this does it. This fixes it, and we're going to find out in about 6 days from now because they're starting that new package at Phoenix. So I'm praying, I'm hoping, especially because that's where our championship race is, right? We've done, just like you just said, we've done our fair share of ragging on Richmond. We have on Phoenix as well. And I think rightfully so. So hopefully they turn it around and it's super exciting.
Yeah, I'm just happy that NASCAR is actually going forward and getting something done and implementing this new package. I mean, how many weeks did we speculate if they would even come out with a package or not? And would they just try to completely change the entire car for every race?
Yeah.
And just tweak it in that aspect. And I think they knew that wasn't a goal as far as in the short term and in the immediate future either. So they have to come out with a package. And, I thought they were pretty quick with it and noticing that it was a big problem with the short tracks. And, it just, to me, it shows that NASCAR is willing to listen to the fans, to the drivers, and to make the changes, whatever they may be, with this next Gen 7 car as quick and as flawless as they can too. So hopefully, just like they did with the rear end, fixing that. And, maybe this is the step in the right direction that we need. And Matt, like you said, good point. Phoenix, hey, that's our championship race for, this season. And if we could see a drastic improvement there, which I don't necessarily consider that a short track, but we'll see if it's implemented in a way where it does change the racing there.
And speaking of Phoenix, where we're going this weekend, it's actually where they tested this package idea a couple of weeks ago. And I know Christopher Bell was part of that test. He said he really liked it. It made the cars a little bit harder to handle on that track. So I have high hopes for this package. I have high hopes for this weekend. I hope it all works out because, like Matt said, that is our championship race. Apparently they did make some more tweaks since that test, so it should be interesting to see. But yeah,
of course they did. The drivers gave good feedback, so they said, "Hey, thanks. We're gonna screw some shit up on you now."
I mean, you never know. It's like a perfectly balanced instrument. You change one thing, you're gonna screw something up over here.
True.
So we'll see what happens with that. Usually I don't like to talk about sponsor news, but I thought this was pretty interesting with Kevin Harvick retiring at the end of the season. Anheuser-Busch is kind of looking at their future in the sport. And word is they're leaning towards sponsoring Ross Chastain. What do you guys think about old Ross behind either a Busch Light car? Maybe they bring the Bud car back or something. What do you guys think about Ross Chastain, the personality for Anheuser-Busch?
Well, I mean, personally, I like Busch, the beer.
Yeah.
So I think it's delicious light beer. And to me, Chastain already has the Moose Lodge on there, and I was actually at a Moose Lodge on Friday with my one of my buddies, and guess what? They have Busch Light on tap at the Moose Lodge. So the Moose Lodge, you can either get a can or on tap. I was there this weekend, so I think it'd go perfect with Ross Chastain. He kind of, still fits that beer drinker, farmer mentality where, hey, the Busch is always into the corn and all of that, and they're farmers. And hey, Ross Chastain, he's a farmer. So I think it goes hand in hand. And I think that'll definitely be the one that Busch would probably most likely go over to.
Here's the thing that I'm thinking, though, and I know you've brought this up before. Our buddy Luke Birdie, yeah, exactly. He gets irate that Paul Menard was not sponsored by the Menards car, and it drives him insane that Kyle Busch is not sponsored by Busch beer. I know they're spelled different, or no, they're not even spelled different. They're spelled exactly the same. And
Jimmy Johns and Jimmy Johnson back in the day. It's like, how come he's not? What's going on?
And I know this is a little sacrilegious. I sent the concept drawing to Matt, and he gave me a big nope. But Kyle Busch in the 8 car, the return of Bud on the 8 car, like what a story would that be? Anheuser-Busch, get on like all the marketing material you could do with that. Bring back that classic red paint scheme.
That would be a home run.
Knock it out of the park, baby.
Busch, sponsored by Busch for the McBushy Busch Beans Race 400.
What do you think, Matt? What do you think about Ross Chastain, or what other driver do you think would you have in mind?
I like the Ross Chastain move. He doesn't, but like, I don't know. Like I'm a Chastain fan, so I'd be cool with that because again, Busch beer, great beer. It's a delicious light beer. So it's two things that I would root for all under the same roof. But I feel like there's somebody out there that's better than that. I honestly, like, I don't know. Maybe like a Chris Buescher. Like maybe it's just because Busch and Buescher, maybe that's what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
But like I feel like there's like somebody else who like connotes like beer drinker
There's like a better representation of a beer drinker than Ross Chastain. Like I don't think, like Eric, you made some good points with the farmer and the corn and all that, but I don't see Ross as like a beer drinking dude.
Right.
Like I'm sure he does, but like I don't know. Yeah, there's got to be someone else, but you got to think too, you need someone that's going to perform for you also. Like, who is that perfect?
Like Ricky Stenhouse?
I was thinking Ricky Stenhouse Jr. too, but like that was mullet Ricky. Ricky's gotten a haircut. I don't think so anymore.
Yeah, Ricky's drinking champagne and he's going to be in an IndyCar in 2 years. So like,
I think we just stumbled upon something. Like we don't have like a Hellraiser like we have in years past. Like Dale Jr. was a famous Hellraiser, Clint Boyer, like a lot of the Tony, like maybe not Tony Stewart, but like a lot of the old school guys were like known Hellraisers, and like we don't have like a lot of party animals nowadays.
You know who would be great, but he's not in Cup? Austin Hill.
Dude, I just thought of the perfect person.
Austin Hill's a country boy drinking type dude. Who you think?
but current Cup driver?
Yeah.
Noah Gregson.
Yeah, but again, you need that performance, and like,
right, and it's not going to be there. Yeah,
no.
I thought of that too. It's too early for him. He got to go to someone that's already well known, that has a name already out there. That, like, dude, to be honest, like the partiers, Blaney fits the Busch more than anything.
Yeah,
that's actually
he always
not a bad
parties
call.
like after he wins. Him, Chase, Bubba. Oh, that would raise hell if Bubba was in that car. Oh my God! But like, those are the ones that you hear getting drunk after races with each other. Are those three? They hang out all the time.
Larson drinks, or at least his wife is shotgunning beers.
Right.
Dude, from all accounts, I believe actually Bowman's a huge Hellraiser too. Like he's not a huge, but like a closet Hellraiser.
But he looks too squeaky clean. I feel like
right. That's what I mean. Like we need like a bad boy.
We need a bad boy. We need Slick Willie 2 Clocks with his beard he's been growing in to start chugging beers on pit road. I didn't notice it until you pointed it out. I go, oh, you want to know what? William Byron does have something going on in the off season. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube. Let us know in the comments who you think should take over that Anheuser-Busch ride, and who gives off those beer drinking vibes. I don't know. I can't think of anyone. I'm going through like the top manufacturers.
Everyone's clean anymore because of the sponsorships and everything that comes with that. Like you have to mind your P's and Q's, and like it's just the atmosphere that the world is right now. Like you got to be careful, but like we need a Hellraiser in NASCAR. We do.
We need a Jimmy Spencer type in
Yeah.
NASCAR.
Yeah.
Like NASCAR's desperate for a Jimmy Spencer type. And I think I'm throwing it out there. I'm putting the call to arms. If someone could raise a couple $1 million, I will go out and be that Hellraiser. I don't care. I mean, you look at those guys like Reilly Herbst and stuff. You got enough money, someone will put you on the track, baby, and I'll drink some beers for you. I'll probably have to end up sticking with my Lego NASCAR. Did you guys see Lego announce a licensing deal with NASCAR? They're releasing a 75th anniversary next-gen Camaro Lego Technics kit. Are you guys planning on buying this kit? I know I am.
I'm 100% doing that.
I get it. I like it, but I think they epically failed in the product itself. It looks nothing. If you just showed me that and didn't tell me what it was, I'd be like, I have no idea
like,
where or what kind of car that is.
That kind of happens a lot with those Lego things, though. They have a Fender guitar kit that I look at. I'm like, that's the worst looking guitar I've ever seen.
Yeah,
you know,
like it looks nothing like our car. It looks almost like a GT3, looks like a weird Porsche or something.
Yeah, like a sports car.
Yeah.
My problem is I'm just a sucker for buying toys. I mean, yesterday Bree sent me over to Walmart to get some Tide, and I showed up with this bad boy. If you're watching on the YouTube,
Tide car.
I got the Tide car. I asked her if I got the right one, and yeah, man. $50 for a Lego kit. Sign me up. Let's see. Next piece of news. We got a couple more to go through. Todd Gilliland, he secured a ride for Talladega. If you remember, before the season started, he got dropped from full-time for Front Row to running a part-time schedule for them. He's been picking up races to fill in the gaps, and Talladega was the last one he needed. Front Row said they'll run a third car. I guess they figured out some sponsorship. And so now he's going to run a full season in Cup. So I just, I figured good for old Todd Gilliland, see what he could do in his sophomore year. I thought he had a pretty decent rookie year, all things considered. I don't expect much out of rookies, and I thought he held his own for the most part. You didn't hear his name for the wrong reasons, at least.
Which is all you want when you're in a middle of the pack / back marker car like that, just stay out of trouble. And he did that.
I'm wondering if Front Row found that extra sponsorship because they had a little backlash, and I think they had to come clean and make do and give him those extra races because I feel like the heat came down on him big time there.
Yeah, I think he deserves it too because he's sitting 27th in the points right now. And he's sitting around Austin Dillon and Eric Jones. Those guys both got in wrecks in Daytona and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I feel like he's holding his own in terms of at least the first 3 races of the season. I just hate seeing people get cut down like that, And speaking of getting cut down, oh boy, Matt, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chase Elliott, his season cut a little short for the time being. He missed Las Vegas due to a fractured tibia. He had to have surgery on Sunday. It was a 3-hour-long surgery, and then he's starting physical therapy today. No word on how severe the break was, a time frame of when he could return. I was asking Bree, my girlfriend, who is a physical therapist, I go, what's the heal time of a tibia fracture? And she goes, about I think 6 to 8 weeks. And she goes, athletes a little bit quicker because they're in better shape. And then I go, well, it's a 3-hour surgery. And she goes, ooh, see, sometimes it could fracture up the top. And he goes, and then she goes, he's going to feel when it's raining every time for the rest of his life. Probably has some rods and pins in there and stuff like that. So hoping for a speedy recovery. Josh Berry filled in this week. I know, Matt, you said the internet says he's not going to fill in next week, and it might be a little surprise.
Yes. Yeah. So far, that's what I've seen. It may still be Josh Berry, but from what I've seen is that we're going to be surprised by who it is, which who knows what that means. It could be anyone. I don't know. I would personally like to see Josh Berry. I have not been shy about my support in Josh Berry. I mentioned it in the breaking news video that I released as the Chase Elliott news broke on Friday night that, Josh Berry's my dude. And if he ever did come to Cup full time, I'd have a real serious conundrum on my hands as to what I was going to do with my fandom. But it sucks as a Chase Elliott fan. I felt it yesterday during the race. Josh was sitting back in 28th essentially the whole race, and I just didn't have anything to root for besides my fantasy team. And just knowing that Chase is not going to be out on that track for what probably is going to be the better part of 2.5, 3 months sucks. The one thing I do know, and he said it, I believe in a brief statement, was that he's going to come back stronger, and now he's going to have to win a race, right? Like that's the old Kyle Busch waiver when he broke his legs back in 2016, 15, 16, when he broke his legs. They granted him a waiver, and he came back and won a bunch of races and then won the championship. So maybe Chase will do the same, but it sucks, man. I know we can get into the discussion of whether he should or should not have been doing, the snowboarding during the season, but it sucks.
So, do you want to get into that conversation? Because I feel like it's a decent conversation to have. Yeah. I know I saw a lot of people saying, like, why would he ever be out there? And then a lot of other people are like, well, you can't ask the guy not to live his life. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Because one, I'm like, yeah, why were you snowboarding? But at the same time, like, the season is 36 weeks. You have one off weekend. Like, when are you going to live your life? Like,
my personal feelings on it are, and I can only put myself in his shoes. Like, I know my personality would be like, don't tell me what I can and can't do. Like, just don't tell me, like, I want to be able to do what I want to do. But on the other hand, you've got sponsors paying you millions of dollars. You've got Mr. H paying you millions of dollars. You've got fans that want to see you out there. You're the sport's most popular driver. You've probably got to be a little bit more careful with your decision making. It's snowboarding. So like the off season's November, December, January, prime snowboarding months. You're a millionaire. You have the opportunity to go wherever the hell you want for those 3 months. I know it's easy for me to say I'm not living his life, but I don't know. I don't know. I know how I would be in that situation, but also like you got to kind of see the bigger picture. And it's not like we're talking about someone who's immature, who has a history of making bad decisions as far as we know. Yeah. Chase is light years ahead of his age, and he seems to have always made the right decision. So, just an unfortunate situation that had the worst, well, not the worst possible outcome, but injury wise, a bad outcome.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as, I don't really think it was a bad decision on Chase Elliott's part. I look at it like, how many times has Chase Elliott gone snowboarding? Probably 1,000. To him, to him, it's just another day snowboarding. He's done it a million times. So
it's not high risk to him.
Right. That was an easy decision for him. Yeah, I'm going snowboarding. It's nothing. It's fine. So like, I think it was just the chances is, he had just the same amount of odds as breaking his leg snowboarding as he did slipping and falling down the steps going to his car to go to the racetrack in the morning to begin with. Yep. So it's like, I don't think the decision making was off there, because to Chase, I think it was a pretty easy decision. He knows that a snowboard, it's easy as this. It's just another thing that a young kid, I'm going to do this. It's perfectly fine. Now I could see the bigger picture, like, maybe this isn't, but no, like that's not going through his head. Hey, he snowboarded a couple runs up and down the mountain. I'm going to be fine. And it could have been a freak thing too that happened. I just think it was an unfortunate circumstance that just it happened, and freak things happen. And I think that's what it is. Because Matt, to your point at the end, he's known for making good decisions and not putting him and his team in a situation like this before. Why would he do it now? I just think anyone that's saying, oh, maybe like, oh, what are you doing? Like, to him, it was just like riding his bike to the grocery store or going to exercise here or there. He
knows his limits.
Yes.
He knows this. Yeah, apparently he's been doing it. So I'm a Chase Elliott fan through and through, and I had no idea he was a snowboarder, but apparently he's been doing it his whole life. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think that's what I keep coming back to is like, am I disappointed as a fan of his that I don't get to see him for a few months? Like, yeah, but like, I'm also super thankful that it was only a broken leg. You know, we've seen some horror stories out of snowboarding and skiing, things like that. So thank God, like, that's the worst that happened. He's going to be okay. You know, at the end of the day, who are we to make the decisions for him? Here's the question that I have for you guys, though. How much hair do you think that surgeon shaved off his leg?
Oh my God. I heard they actually sewed his hair and braided it together to keep the leg attached.
Yeah,
His hair was the only thing holding it on.
They used the hairs as sutures.
They had to take the still saw to his hair.
Yeah, I kind of went through the range of emotions. At first, when I heard it, I'm like, what the fuck was he doing snowboarding on a race weekend? And then
Whitey, do you have the voicemail?
I do. I don't have my phone connected to the Bluetooth through the board.
So a little peek behind the curtain. I won't make you pull it up, but a little peek behind the curtain. I'm sitting there watching a movie or something with my wife on Friday night. And our buddy PJ, who's also a huge Chase Elliott fan, texted me and he's like, Chase, WTF. And I'm like, oh no, like what? And so I couldn't pull up Twitter fast enough. And then I saw Bob Pockrass's tweet about what had happened. So I'm like, I got to call it. Like, I'm amped up. Like, I'm like, one, Chase Elliott's out, and two, my guy Josh Berry is filling in for him. Like, I am amped up. I gotta call the guys, right? So I call Eric, and he's out at the bar. And I'm telling him, and he's like, "You're fucking with me, like you're lying, right?" I'm like, "No, dude, like,
yeah." I literally thought you were like pulling a prank on me or something.
So, and then like we tried calling Whitey, he wasn't answering, and we're like, "Dude, Whitey, open up Twitter right now! Like as soon as you get to a phone, like open up Twitter." And then he was able to call us back. But Eric tried calling him and doing a 3-way call while he was on the phone with me, and it went to voicemail at Whitey's phone. And then when he clicked back over, we were still recording a voicemail, and Whitey has the voicemail. So maybe in a release down the line, we'll release that voicemail of us cursing up a storm about what had just happened.
Yeah, I was so disoriented too because like last week, not to get into the weeds, last week I had a rough week. I was just exhausted, right? It's Friday night and it's pizza night, and on Fridays after my regular job, I go to the radio station, I do my radio job, and then I get home, and so I picked up the pizza. We got I haven't had it in years. Chandra's Pizza, which is deep fried.
Oh, so good.
Right?
So good.
But it's deep fried pizza, so it's fucking greasy as shit. And my hands are just covered in like grease. Like I'm eating my first slice and Eric's calling me. I'm like, it's probably not important. I'll get back to him. You know, it's probably some nonsense. And then like the voicemail gets left like a minute later. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, all right, let me like listen to this voicemail. So I put it on speaker and he goes, what? Tyler Reddick broke his leg. I'm like, you're fucking with me, right? And then
so the reason why Eric said that was, I think I'm leaving a voicemail, but if in case we are, let's tell him Tyler Reddick broke his leg.
Yeah, because you guys can never not bust my balls. And then I'm like,
I forgot about all of this right now. I forgot that we did this. I totally forgot I did this.
So then you're then you call. I'm like, man, maybe this is serious. And like, I went to answer it, but my hands still fucking greasy. I don't want to pick up my phone and stuff. And then you text me, you're like, check Bob Hodge. So I'm typing in Twitter with my pinky, which is the only clean finger. And I'm like, oh, Chase Elliott broke his leg. I'm like, oh, sucks to be Chase Elliott. And then you're like, Whitey, I need the password for the YouTube channel. I need to make a video. So I'm typing the whole thing out with my pinky, still trying to eat my slices of pizza and stuff. But just unfortunate for Chase, man. It just sucks. And you want to know what? I hope Josh Berry gets another opportunity next week to show what he can, because it's hard jumping into a new car you've never been in and everything. Just from the pedals being in different spots, like the way the whole car is set up, there's a lot to get used to.
Apparently jumping
they only had so much time to swap over. I saw a couple of pictures and video of them like through the night just trying to like take out the seats, do this, change that, so that like he could actually drive the vehicle. I mean, I would love to see him with an opportunity to shake down the car and have everything the way he likes it and a setup the way he would want it, and give him actually a fair fill-in.
Yeah, apparently the difference between Xfinity and the Cup cars now is like night and day. Well, we know, especially with the shifter, right? The H pattern, compared to the sequential. So like that has got to be an adjustment. I'm surprised he didn't mess up that way, just out of habit, just shifting the wrong way.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to overcome plus the distance of the race. Like you're used to a certain distance and length and everything. Like there's a lot of factors that go into it. But speaking of the race weekend, you want to jump right into it with the trucks. We saw a pretty interesting truck race. I caught the beginning. I fell asleep and then I woke up for the end. Kyle Busch led 5 times for 84 laps. Those KBM trucks back in the regular form that they were last year. And then Saturday, apparently, Chandler Smith had the dominant car leading 118 laps. But Austin Hill pulled it off in the end with a late race pass. He led 3 times for 19 laps. Austin Hill getting his second win of the season. So good for Austin Hill there. Good for RCR. I'm thinking we saw a lot of wins from the Xfinity series leave in Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson this year. And I think Austin Hill could have a breakout year in the Xfinity series. And Chandler Smith too, man, super impressed by him. I know, Eric, you've been asking about Chandler Smith a lot lately. Are you on the Chandler Smith bandwagon for the Xfinity series? Is that what's going on?
Well, we talked about it earlier in the season about like not having a driver in and kind of wanting to pay a little bit more attention to it. So like my, fandom was open for, someone to catch my eye, who I'm going to root for in Xfinity series. And, it goes back to that Corey Heim and Chandler Smith in that ARCA at Pocono. Like,
it's crazy
in my head,
man.
I'm like, I gotta kind of, stick with that. So, I've been following close to see, Chandler Smith and Zane Smith and all the Smiths and who's out in the Xfinity. So, I'm kind of sorting out who I might want to root for this year in Xfinity.
I might get a mural of that save tattooed on my entire back.
The sunset, everything, it was just so perfect.
We reference that save like once a week, I think.
We reference.
You know what? You can't find it online. Like I've tried looking for it, I can't find it.
I remember finding it on Twitter the next day. It's on Twitter. I just can't remember what to search to find it again. But I think we retweeted it 1 week too. So
you guys are about to lose me for about 10 minutes here.
We can't. We got it because we got to jump into the Cup race, man. William Byron, also the dominant car, led 5 times for 160 laps, and it was a quick one out in Vegas, man. 2 hours, 50 minutes, 35 seconds.
Dude,
what's up?
It took me 10 seconds. I found it.
Bullshit. Okay.
I'll send it over to you so you can retweet it.
Send it in the DMs.
So everyone can see the save that we're always talking about. Sorry to derail the show.
We see probably one ARCA race a season. It's the Pocono race, and we've been talking about the same ARCA race for 3 fucking years.
It's the best save I've ever seen.
It's insane. All right, I'll retweet that. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bump the Letter and Run Pod. But yeah, the Vegas race for the Cup Series lasted 2 hours, 50 minutes, 35 seconds. We saw 13 lead changes among 8 different drivers, 4 cautions for 26 laps. Your top 5, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, a 1-2-3 finish for Hendrick Motorsports. And then we had Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell. So the Chevys and the Toyotas doing really well in Vegas. Do you guys, what's up?
Dude, I just keep watching this save.
It's crazy. He crossed 6 lanes of traffic. Like, that save is when you're on a road trip going down to the beach and you're lost in New Jersey or Maryland and your exit popped up way quicker than you thought it was and you just cut the fucking wheel. Oh man. But let's jump into the race grades real quick.
It's our NASCAR weekend race grade.
All right, Eric, I think we started with Matt last weekend, so let's start with you this weekend. What was your race grade for the weekend?
I gave it a C. I was actually looking forward to the race. I told you guys, I told my cousin, I told my girlfriend, I'm like, you know what? I go, I'm actually excited to watch this race on Sunday. I said, I'm not going to be hungover. I'm going to be, able to pay attention. I'm going to be focused, and I'm ready for this race. And I didn't get any of that. No battles for the lead, no sustained battles lap to lap. Strategy wasn't involved. It was pretty much a dud of a race until the last stage caution came out. But we saw a Hendrick Motorsports ass whooping, and some weeks you get an ass whooping, and HMS, they put an ass whooping on everybody. The 5 and the 24, they wrapped the bottom the entire day and just took off and dominated. And everybody else, they were battling tight conditions, and they had to run the top, and it was just tight all day. They could not loosen up those cars. And when you got back up in dirty air and in traffic, it was impossible to move up through the field. And, it was a race that I think had potential, but just never transpired. And that's why I just felt I had to give it a C, because I looked last year, and I think it comes down to lead changes and how many drivers that happened to, because, last year we had 23 lead changes among 15 drivers. And this year we only had 13 among 8. And I think that makes a difference. It shows that there was more battles up front, more, back and forth for the lead and just throughout the race. So those 12 cautions last year to only 4 this year, that was probably the difference too. For the lack of lead changes. The tires, I think the tires blowing out last year played a big role in why that race, I gave it an A last year.
Yeah.
There was a lot more drama, it was a lot racier with the tire issues. And, I just think it was a problem. It was cool out there in Vegas. I think he said it was like 57 when the race started. So once again, we're noticing when these next gen cars, they go to a cold racetrack and, cold race surface, it seems to put these cars in a super tight position, and they can't loosen the cars up. And we get a race like we had where it has potential. It's not the worst race, but you tend to have someone dominate and run away. And that's what we saw on Sunday. And I gave it a C.
Yeah, to your point, I don't know if we saw one battle for the lead all race long. Every lead change was either during like a green flag pit stop. We saw the race off pit road that resulted in a lead change when the restart happened. But in terms of like battling for the lead, like once the leader got up front, I mean, William Byron just ran away with it, and then the only reason why I'm pretty sure Kyle Larson took the lead was they both came in on a green flag pit stop. Byron came in a lap later than Larson was. They even said on the broadcast, their pit stop times were exactly the same. It was just that one lap difference that created that opportunity for Larson to take the lead. Other than that, I feel like William Byron would dominate even more, And then we did see some action at the beginning of the third stage. I thought that was pretty good, but like, man, I'm with you, man. Lack of passing for the lead, and lack of battles in the middle of the pack. I feel like we missed out too, And I think you're right. I think it's due to those tighter conditions, the colder racetrack. How about you, Matt? What was your race grade?
I gave it a C-. Let's just call it what it was. It was a dud race, which is fine for now. Just, let's hope it's the exception and not the rule when it comes to 1.5 miles. I thought we saw pretty good 1.5 mile racing last year. I'm hoping something didn't swap, in these cars and we start getting dud 1.5 miles like we have in the past before the next gen. I just expected more out of this race. Last year I rated both Vegas races as a B+. So we had good races there. It's not, it's not the car, it's not the track, but like maybe it was the perfect, storm yesterday. I don't know what happened, but it happens. Once this West Coast swing is over, we have a string of like 2 solid months of exciting racing coming up. So I am staying positive. And even with the new aero package, like we talked about before at Phoenix, maybe we're going to get a fantastic Phoenix race. I'm hopeful that we will actually. So listen, it happens. I'll say this. I said it to you guys. I'll say it again. On any given Sunday, when you have the three big main forms of motorsport happening, NASCAR is typically the most exciting form of that motorsport, even a C- race.
Yeah.
So our C- race would be an A race in any other form of major motorsport. So I'll take it. It happens. It's not every week that we get shit racing, but it's also not every week that we get great racing either. It was just a dud yesterday for whatever reason. That happened.
You know what happened? We saw an F1 race this weekend on an oval. The leader got up out front in turn one, and he kept the lead for the whole entire race, pretty much. I just thank God for Eric Almirola in that late race caution. I was loving that because I wanted Slick Willie to win, and I don't think he was going to catch Larson at that point. And like I said, I had all that money on
last year, right? Wasn't there a late race caution and then Bowman won on the restart?
Yeah, the Toyotas dominated. They came in and pit. Hendricks, they didn't. They stayed out, and then they ended up winning, and the Toyotas didn't. Yeah, so like they flip-flopped last year.
Yeah, so my race grade, I'm on the same page as you guys. Just a C, just an average race overall, which was surprising because, like we said, this car's been really good on 1.5 miles. It makes me wonder, too, though. I mean, usually the West Coast swing, it's a little difficult to gauge because they have to set up pretty much 3 cars for 3 different races and send them out there like 2 weeks in advance or like a week and a half in advance. So maybe they just kind of got limited to the setups that they put them in. They got stuck in this box, and maybe once they get back to Charlotte and we got Atlanta coming up after Phoenix, then we got Coda and stuff. We got a whole bunch of different types of tracks. I think we should see some pretty interesting racing. But yeah, it just got strung out. Beginning of stage 3 was pretty interesting. We saw some great battles early on, and then again strung out. And yeah, I don't know.
If you think about it too, like I said, like the next 2 months might be the most diverse part of our entire season too. Like every track is different, like every step of the way. So I'm excited. I love the next 10 or so weeks of the season. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we have a really good stretch up coming up, especially if this short track package turns out pretty well, because we have Phoenix, we have Circuit of the Americas, which is the road course, and we want less downforce for them. We got Richmond, Bristol Dirt. I think they take away the diffuser anyway, so it's not much of a deal. And then Martinsville, and then we're on to Talladega and Dover, man. I feel like the NASCAR season just started, and we're already jumping right into the thick of things, though. I feel like we're in mid-season form already. So I'm excited, man. I'm really looking forward to getting into the swing of things, you know. But let's jump into the checkers and wreckers.
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's checkers and wreckers.
All right, since we started with Eric for the race grades, let's start with Matt for the checkers and wreckers.
Yeah, so I will start with my checkers, and it is going to Bubba Wallace, man. He just had a solid day all day.
Yeah.
He started 13th, but once he cracked the top 10, like he stayed there virtually all day. His average running position was 8th. He finished 4th. It's a real shot in the arm that Bubba and that whole 23 team needed after a crash at Daytona and engine problems at Fontana. He just needed to go out there and just have a real solid day, and that's exactly what he did. And really, it was all of 2311 brought rocket ships to the racetrack, right? Because we saw Whitey's boy Reddick rip through the field, and he made flying right up into the mix of things there. So really a solid day that 2311 needed. I think Reddick was last in points heading into this weekend, right?
Yeah, he's still like third.
It's gonna take some time for him to crawl back up there, but he's going to, especially if they keep bringing cars to the racetrack like they did this weekend. And then Bubba, I think it's only a matter of time before he's winning a couple races. I think after what we've seen so far out of the speed, you take all the mechanical issues and getting caught up in a wreck in Daytona out of it. Bubba's had some really good cars this season, and so has Reddick. So all of 23-11. I think it's only a matter of time before both of those guys start ripping off wins, and then the haters can really start flipping the channel off of NASCAR because I'm not watching NASCAR if Bubba Wallace is involved.
Yeah, they'll still watch it and they'll still keep on hating. That's death, taxes, and people hating Bubba Wallace, the 3 guarantees in life. How about
no, you forgot the 4th one. Tyler Reddick through the grass.
Oh, man, he had
a good save, though. That's why I brought it up. He had a great save. He almost ended up through the grass.
He almost did end up in the grass. He got
his save was good. That was a sick save, man.
I tell you what, he could have had a better finish too. His problem was because they wrecked out last week and they were starting the back because they had a change in engine and stuff. They got the last pit selection. So he was stuck between Kyle Busch and AJ Allmendinger. So they were just having trouble getting in and out of the pit box all day long. He said because there's a new rule. I didn't realize there's a new rule to help safety of the pit guys, that you have to be in some weird commitment line or something. I'll have to dive into this. Maybe I'll explain it better next week because I honestly don't know what was going on, but he was talking about it today in Sirius XM. And then even Larry Mack was like, man, if it was that hard at Las Vegas, imagine at a tight pit road like Darlington or Martinsville. So I don't know. I'm going to have to explore that a little bit. How about your records? What was your records for the weekend?
So for as good of a weekend as Bubba Wallace had, on the total opposite of that, Ty Gibbs is my records. Been a super underwhelming start to his entire season and his quote unquote rookie campaign. Just all the hype that followed him into the Cup Series. And he's just laying dud after dud after dud. His average running position was 24th yesterday. He finished 22nd, so he was just never even in contention. Through his first 3 races, his average running position is 21st. His average finish is 21st. And his average driver rating is 60.9, which is a terrible driver rating. So I know it's only 3 races. It's not time to hit the panic button for that team, but someone with that much hype, he better turn it around quickly or he's going to start hearing about it, especially because he's already become a polarizing figure within our sport. The worse he does, the more the boos are going to carry on for him.
He dropped like a rock too. I mean, he had a rocket ship during qualifying. I'm not sure what happened. Qualified 4th and then 3 laps in, he was already at I saw a metric. I forget what exactly it was, but it was like lap 3, he was down 5 spots. Lap 4, he was down another 5, and it just kept falling from there. So, just a rough go of it for old Ty Gibbs. A rough go for Noah Gragson too. Rough go for the rookies this week.
I feel like a lot of people missed on the race setup and went for qualifying. I feel like people that qualified really well just didn't have a good race car. Logano, look at him. I mean, he didn't have a good car that raced very well all day either. So, it was weird to see some of those cars in the beginning of that race, like legit in the first 5-10 laps, there were a lot of cars in that top 10 that just kind of fell backwards.
Yeah. I bet Ty Gibbs wished Jesus took the wheel yesterday.
It's like, I don't want to hold this wheel anymore. How about you, Eric? What's your checkers and records for the weekend?
Well, I'll start with my wreckers. I'm wrecking Eric Jones's pit crew. I, for the first time, listened to the scanner along with the broadcast for, reasons that I don't really have to get into why I didn't want to listen to the broadcast, but I'm sure you guys can figure that out. They ruined a top 10 car that EJ had yesterday. Twice he had a loose wheel. The first time going around, he had to start in the back, obviously, just like Tyler Reddick, he had a bad start to the year and you have to crawl out of that. So your starting positions are not going to be great. And, he raced his way up into the top 15. And I'd say for stage 1 and stage 2, he was averaging around 13th and raced his way closer into the top 10, finding his way in there late in stage 2, probably 10 to go. He has a vibration, thinks the tire's going down. Mm-hmm. Here it turns out it was a loose wheel from the last stop. Thank God it didn't, completely come off or get tore apart or anything, but they fixed that. obviously has a bad stop there, puts another loose wheel on. And what I didn't realize is either Eric, he goes, I never had a loose wheel on a next-gen car, so I don't know how bad
what it feels like, yeah.
and what it feels like. So that's why he didn't even know what it felt like because he never had one. He's like, how bad was it? He was asking his crew chief, like, was it? He goes, that was as bad of a loose wheel as it could have been without it coming off. So at least now he knows what it feels like to have a loose wheel, but that was kind of scary too.
I'll tell you what, kudos to his team. I know you're wrecking the team now, but if that's his first loose wheel he's had after an entire season of running this next-gen car, like, kudos to his team. I know last year you mentioned a lot that Eric Jones sometimes lost spots on pit road, but it was because his team was taking their time and making sure everything was done right, which was good in the long run. And so the fact that he never had a loose wheel before in a whole season last year is pretty impressive.
Right, but that's why I'm wrecking the team because it's already week 3 and you have 2 in one race.
Yeah,
What are you doing? Are they trying to speed up that pit stop and like, okay, have another year, like get those fast stops out? But to me, listening on the scanner, it just seemed like the whole team they weren't on sync. They're having radio issues. They couldn't really hear Eric what he was saying, and it was just an overall just a sloppy performance all around by that team. And, you know, I saw something at the end of the race too, like when he had that other issue going down where he had another loose wheel at the end and he went from legitimately 11th to 19th hanging on to that car that he said is undrivable. And that was a top 10 car. And if the pit crew doesn't have those loose wheels, it was almost a false sense of what – I know we have speed. I was worried. I'm like 19th. What are we doing? But like I saw him being able to drive up through the field and get it to that top 10. And I think that car is going to have speed and we'll see, you know, in the future. But man, it was just a sloppy day by his pit crew.
I'm trying to find it now. I could have swore during the offseason, didn't they get a whole new pit crew for the 43 team? Wasn't that a whole deal?
There was some moving around just within the last couple of weeks. Within the last couple of weeks, I think there was some moving around and shuffling around. But on to my checkers. I got to give it to HMS, man. They, you know, despite the news of, you know, Chase Elliott, they went out there and they just straight up smacked the field. It wasn't even close. 1, 2, 3 finish. And, you know, they dominating fashion, the 24 and the 5, the 48, obviously up there too, had a hell of a day. And I think they just flexed their muscles and, you know, they're right now coming out once again as the dominant team. And that's the way that they started it last year as well. And, you know, we'll see if they can maintain through summer where I know they tend to fall down. But for right now, even without Chase Elliott, I think that Hendrick Motorsports is flexing and they're the top dog. And, you know, last year they had the same 3 that went 1, 2, 3, finished top 5 last year. So maybe these are the metrics to go by and maybe they have it down from last year to this year. And they deserve all the credit because they put an ass whooping on the field yesterday.
Do you think they're going to be better off when Dale Jr. comes in and takes over that 9 car for a couple weeks?
I don't know.
Could you imagine?
I'm sure he would run a race in Phoenix, and I'm sure he's itching to drive a next-gen car in a race.
I'm sure he is too.
I'm trying to find that article. I could have swore that Legacy made a switch and started. Yeah, they. I want to say they started using Joe Gibbs people, but maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to dig into that.
They did. No, they did.
They did?
Yeah, because so on the one stop where Eric Jones didn't lose a wheel, but they thought he was going to lose his wheel, and he had to reverse all the way down pit road back to his pit stop, his crew chief was trying to tell him in his ear, hey, you could stop in the 42 box. And the 42 guys, it's legal to change, and they'll put a tire on in the 42s box.
Really?
No shit. No shit.
And Eric Jones could have also stopped in any Joe Gibbs pit crews box, and they would have helped out.
Really?
Wait, why? What's the affiliation there?
That's the affiliation. They're part of the pit crew. That's they're using. Certain teams only have so many crews, and I guess you could form affiliations because Eric Jones, obviously, you're backing up down pit road. You're like, What do
They're
you do
Chevy and
when you
Toyota.
go to any of those other boxes?
No, you could rent crew members from any team. I think that's why.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not know that. I will tell you what, you just blew my mind. So, like, if Larson's having trouble, he can swing into Byron's stall.
That's really interesting.
Wow, that is super interesting. But okay, so here's my question. Maybe you don't have the answer for this. Maybe you do. Let's just say it's Championship Sunday and Larson's in it, but the other 300 Motorsports guys aren't, but they all have better pit selections than Larson. It's the last pit selection. No, can he go and...
He could, but listen, there's a rule that I don't know the specifics about it, and they said with Eric. Since he didn't go there and he pitted in his own pit box, he held his position in 19th. If he pitted in another person's pit box, so he didn't have to go back to his, he goes to the tail end.
Okay, so there's like ramifications.
So by going back to his pit box, he saved his spot in 19th in the whole pit cycle way it comes out. If he went into another pit box to gain an advantage instead of going back, then he has to go to the tail end.
Okay.
So it's not just getting that spot. Yeah, there is a repercussion for it.
There was a team back in the day. I forget if I heard it on the Dale Jr. podcast. Mike Davis was talking about it, or if it was in a video I was watching about the history of field fillers. But back in the day, like Start and Park guys, they would bring one pit crew for like 4 cars. 4 cars, and they would all use the same pit crew and stuff. So there definitely is some gray area in that rule book.
We didn't talk about this. How about the pit crew in the truck series? The flight was delayed, and they were running in after the truck race started.
Had already started, yeah.
I've never seen that happen either.
No, I didn't get a chance to see that during the broadcast. Dude, I heard about it today.
WWE, like, oh, they're here, by God, they're here.
Now, did they have to make pit stops before that though? Like, was there like random like crew chiefs and stuff trying to like jack up cars and shit?
I don't know. I didn't see everything, but it was early on that that the pit crew showed up, and it wasn't every pit crew, but it was a good portion, right? Were stuck on a plane and they got there super late. Like they got there after the race started. So I don't know. I think it was pretty early on in the race that they got there, but I've never seen pit crews running in off of a golf cart because they were late to the race. That was a first for me as a NASCAR fan.
All right. And let's see. It's my turn to do checkers and wreckers, right?
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to start with my wreckers. My wreckers, the Fords of Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney, maybe all the Fords too, just they did not show up. And those are 2 guys I was really high on for this race. I thought they were going to perform really well. Logano obviously qualified really well. He won the pole. And then they had both subpar days. In fact, it was at the end of the second stage. I was debating who do I put in my garage and who do I leave out because I had both Blaney and Logano. I'll tell you guys, I made the wrong choice and I kept Logano in and I put Blaney in my garage. And then sure enough, a couple laps later, he wrecks out. So that sucked. But my checkers was I had Willie B in my garage or in my driver's lineup, and I'm giving my checkers to Slick Willie 2 clocks. When you run that dominant all day long, there's no way you cannot give it to him. And really, the rest of Hendrick, like Eric said, 1, 2, 3 finish, man. Like that's something to be a pot at. That's a great day for Hendrick overall, and good for Slick Willie 2 clocks picking up where he left off in the playoffs. The confidence are high. Let's hope he could ride it all year long and not get that summer slump like we saw from him last year. And I have to give a quick aside to an honorary checkers to my girlfriend. She's number 1 in our fantasy league right now. And super proud of her because she's getting into it. She's been picking her own lineups. I'm not helping. In fact, I gave her some advice on this weekend. I go, you know what? You probably shouldn't play Martin Truex Jr. because he wasn't that great in practice. And sure enough, he's running top 5 at one point. She's like, I knew I should have played Martin Truex Jr. I don't know why I listened to you. I go, welcome to my world. This is fantasy. Fantasy is life. So yeah, she's number 1. So I got to give her props. I am second to last. So rough.
Dude, I'm checking it right now. No, you're third to last. Don't sell yourself short.
All right, we're moving up. We're moving up little by little, scratching and clawing our ways up to the front row there.
I'll tell you what it is. Nobody wants to hear about our fantasy, but you got to hit on the head-to-heads. That's it. You got to hit on the head-to-heads.
And you want to know what? I lost out on 2 head-to-heads that killed my day. Plus Logano got me 1 point that destroyed my day. If I had Blaney in, I would have won the day. I think.
Dude,
I think it was close.
In a race like yesterday, where like first and last place is only separated by like 50 or 60 points. Like those 40 total head-to-head points were huge yesterday. And
I kind of miss from a couple of years ago. Yet now we're getting real into the weeds. I miss when you had to pick the top manufacturer driver and all that stuff. Made it. I feel like when you hit, and everyone else kind of didn't. So it made things a little bit more even. Yeah, I don't like these head-to-heads, to be honest with you. What I do like, though, is covering the guy in last place. Are we done with the race? I feel like we covered everything we have to talk about. Is there anyone?
Nothing really happened. Nothing really happened.
Nothing really happened except for Joey Logano taking a trip through the grass. Here on the Bumper Run podcast, everyone loves to talk about the winner, William Byron, on a Monday night. But we're going to talk about the loser who started out on the pole, Joey Logano. He made contact with his former teammate, Brad Keselowski, and his car took some pretty bad damage flying through the grass. I tell you what, I got nervous we were going to see a Chris Buescher rollover like we did last year. But Joey Logano avoided all the storm drains in the infield grass. And they ran out of time on pit road. They couldn't get it repaired. So yeah, Joey Logano came in last in Vegas. Lady Luck was not on Logano's side for the Pennzoil 400. But fellas, no pickle lane this week. I feel like, did we cover all the pickle lanes kind of throughout the show? The Blaney thing, Matt, what was the Blaney tweet you saw earlier today?
So apparently Kyle Petty had some interesting thoughts on Ryan Blaney that I didn't necessarily disagree with. So Kyle Petty said on his NASCAR and NBC podcast, Ryan Blaney. Now this is I'm quoting at Daniel McFadden on Twitter. He's a NASCAR fan.
No, I think isn't he a NASCAR?
Oh, he's a reporter. Okay, yeah. So Daniel McFadden, he's a reporter for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, but he's also a NASCAR writer at the Front Stretch. Okay, so he's a legit dude. He tweeted out that Kyle Petty said on his NASCAR and NBC podcast that Ryan Blaney is the new Casey Kane, potential unfulfilled. Everybody wants to talk about what he can do, but he never does anything, and I don't disagree. It's a really interesting comparison because he's got the fandom. You know, people love him. Fans love him. There's nothing really to hate about him, just like Casey Kane. He was a lovable like guy.
Casey Kane, yeah.
He had all the potential in the world, just like Blaney has all the potential in the world. And he'll win a race or 2 or 3, or last year 0. And every race he's expected to do something like I may pick him for Phoenix because I expect Blaney to do good.
No, but real.
Like when it's all said and done, like he hasn't done much. And that's, listen, I'm not like, we're not talking shit on him. We're just giving the facts right now. Like Blaney, he made it to the Final Four, but it was out of pure, I don't want to say happenstance. Like he did make it to the Final Four. I don't want to take that away from him, but he didn't win a race either. Like he was consistent enough to do it, which is great. But like he hasn't, I don't want to say he hasn't proven himself because he's proven himself. He definitely belongs in the Cup Series. Not a question about it. That's where he belongs. He's got the star power. He's got the talent. He just has been a little bit of an underwhelming performer so far in his Cup Series career.
He didn't make the championship for last year. He exited in the round of 8. He finished 8th.
Oh, my bad. Why did I think he made the Final Four last year?
I don't know. He finished 2nd at Phoenix last year.
Maybe that's why, or because I picked him to win the championship last year. I don't know. I apologize. That's a pretty bad screw up. I thought he made the Final Four last year.
That's okay.
I'm gonna go with I don't put him in the same breath as Casey Kane as far as in the Cup Series. I think that Blaney is consistent on a more week-to-week basis. Now I don't have the stats to back that up. But it just seems like I don't think I ever, even when Casey Kane was running the best he's ever ran, I don't think I ever would have picked him as a championship favorite. And, I just think that in its own says who has a better chance and opportunity on a week-to-week basis in their career when they were doing it. I think Blaney is definitely the better prospect and better driver than Casey Kane was. I could see the similarities. I could see why the question would get brought up in the first place. It's a valid question. But I just feel like, I don't know. I never thought of Casey Kane as being like, oh, I'm going to pick him for a championship. And like, maybe it is the hype. Maybe it is that. But
early in Casey Kane's career, he was he was like he was supposed to be like the next hot thing. He would win let me see. I'm looking at his stats now. Like the most he won was 6 races in 2006, which is a lot. That's a really, really good season. But other than that, it's one race win a season, 2 races, 0, 1, 2. So like he had one outlier season. There was hype there, but then it dissipated later on in his career.
See, I wasn't a NASCAR fan when Casey was running. Like his last year was the first year I started, or no, his last year was the year before I started watching. And like I'm looking at his numbers. So he has 18 career wins, which is respectable. He's finished 4th in the point standings once before, but looking at his races to race, like it seems he either finished in the top 5 or he finished sub 20th, like, and mostly like 31st, that's how I remember 36.
His whole entire career.
Yeah.
Super inconsistent. It was boom or bust with him, know. And
I feel like Ryan
Blaney's the same way, though. You know what I mean? That's why I think it is a valid question for sure. There's a lot of drivers that are like that though too, where it's boom or bust. We talk about Slick Willie 2 clocks.
Whole last year,
he could have 3 wins in the beginning, and then he goes, the whole summer and into the fall with nothing until the playoffs. So like, that's tough, man.
Here's the thing, though. Blaney's only ever had one multi-win season, and it came in 2021. And then he follows it up in a 0-win season. I think this has got
to be season 6 or 7. I can give you that information right now. He is in his debut he's in his 9th year. He's run 252 races over 9 years. His first year is probably like, well, this is his
part-time though.
Yeah, this is his 8th full season.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man. Looking at his number, see, that's the thing though. Blaney's more consistent in the top 10 than I think than Casey Kane really ever was.
That's where my head goes. My head goes to like on a week-to-week basis. I feel like Blaney had a better opportunity, and Casey Kane was more like what he said. His career was just more he'd either win or come in dead last, or have an issue, and That just seems to me, I'm a consistency guy. I love a driver that's going to every week, where you're going to get. You can root for him, or you're going to have a good day sitting on the couch watching the TV. And that's what Blaney is to me as far as driver type.
Dude, Blaney is going to have the better career when it's all said and done. I mean, Casey Kane had 176 top 10s in 15 years. Blaney in 10 years already has 114. He's gonna crush that stat. 61 top 5s for Blaney in 10 years. 93 in 15 years for Casey Kane. So yeah, Blaney, when it's all said and done, will be the better driver. I would love to personally see Blaney in a Hendrick bow tie, but I mean those guys are all wrapped up for years to come, so that won't happen anytime soon anyway.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like we saw last year, how many different winners? 19, something like that. Maybe even 21, counting the All-Star race. He won the All-Star race. But yeah, right now it's getting harder and harder to win races that with the parity that this car is putting out too. So you got to factor that in. And I feel like now more than ever, consistency is more impressive. And he had a super consistent year last year. It just kind of fell apart in the playoffs there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not calling Blaney a bust by any means, but he could definitely improve somehow. I don't know how, but I don't know. But yeah, that's all we have for the pick lanes. Time to move on to the next race weekend.
Marty, you gotta come back with me.
Where?
The next NASCAR Cup race. It's the weekend preview.
And we are heading to Phoenix Raceway, Xfinity on track, Saturday, 4:30 on FS1 for the United Rentals 200. And then Cup takes the track 3:30 on Fox on Sunday for the United Rentals Work United 500. And the kind of interesting practice for Cup is going to be Friday night, 6:35, and then qualifying 2:05 on Saturday. I think they get a full 50-minute practice with this new package, so that is nice to see. And we got some gambling to cover.
Here we go. Money talk.
Yeah.
It's the Bump
I
and
love it.
Run
I absolutely
Gambling
love it.
Preview.
All right. Last week, I picked Ross Chastain to win. He got me 37 points. Matt, you picked Alex Bowman to win. He was close. He came in third. He got you 46 points. And then Eric, you almost got the win. You picked Kyle Larson to win. He got second place finish. So super tight field between you guys. I picked this week's winner first. Matt will pick second, and Eric will pick last. Matt, does DraftKings have another week?
DraftKings I just checked DraftKings and FanDuel. Neither of them have the odds for Phoenix yet. So again, we will have to get back to you on our gambling video. You'll see more of the Whitey's money gun shooting money all over the place.
All right, well, that just means you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want that betting preview. I did all sorts of metrics this week. I really crunched the numbers. I created something called the Whitey Speed Score that seems to be working out pretty well. I called the winner of the race, William Byron, last week. So let's see if I could call the winner before practice and qualifying. It's going to be even tougher. Guys, we're going to the first short track of the season. Who do you guys think I'm going to pick? Who do you guys think I'm picking for the first short track of the season? I'll tell you who I'm picking. That 20 car. Give me Christopher Bell. He got himself a top 5. I feel like the confidence is there, and he's my go-to pick on short tracks. For the time being, we'll see. How about you, Matt? Who are you going with? You're shaking your head there. Oh, sorry, Eric.
I was shaking my head because I don't consider
Matt goes
Phoenix
second.
a short track.
Oh, yeah. Well,
am I second?
Yeah, you are second.
No, he won. Didn't he?
You won. You got 53 points. He got 46.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you picked Kyle Larson to win. Right? Yeah.
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 He got okay, so it's on me then, huh? I mean, we only get 3 picks, right? Yeah. 3 picks per driver, and then they're done. I mean, I feel like this is a no-brainer, right? I gotta pick Chase Elliott.
All right, I'll mark you down. We'll see how that one goes.
I am taking. Hey, Whitey, look at me. Let's make eye contact. Man had a rocket ship this week.
He did have a rocket ship, didn't he?
The man wants to perform for Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin.
He does. You know who just bought a pair of Jordans for the first time in my life? They're coming in the mail tomorrow.
Whitey, turn around. Look at that flag that's right behind you. What does that name say?
It says Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, it does.
You're picking Bubba Wallace.
I'm taking Bubba Wallace.
I knew it, you son of a bitch.
No, I'm kidding. I'm taking Tyler Reddick.
I'm
taking Tyler Reddick. I am taking Tyler.
I feel like
I have a feeling.
All right, I think he was at that Phoenix test a couple weeks ago too, so he's already got a taste for this package. We'll see what they could do. How about you, Eric? Who you picking for Phoenix?
Well, I'm going with someone that had speed to start the season. They didn't let me down in fantasy so far. I'm going to stick with them, and I think Chevys are the hot hand right now. Finished top 5 in both the spring and championship races last year, and was also at the test with this new package. I'm going with the one of Ross Chastain.
Nice. I like it.
Great pick, dude. He was on my list.
Yeah. This is a tough one because, again, still early in the season. Everyone's kind of figuring things out. I wanted to go with like Logano because of the championship race, but then after this week in Las Vegas, I'm like, I'm going to steer clear away from Fords and stuff, but I like that Ross Chastain pick. We are 3 races into the 2023 season, and we have 3 different winners. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, and William Byron all have themselves locked in. We will see if Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, or Ross Chastain could be the next ones locked into the playoffs this weekend at Phoenix. It all goes down 3:30 on Fox for the United Rentals Work United 500 on Fox, and we will break it all down for you right here on the Bump and Run podcast Monday night. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The Bump and Run